Greetings, dear subscribers and casual listeners of my channel. Have you ever thought about what would happen if Voldemort had an heir? What if the Dark Lord and his most devoted follower, Bellatrix Lestrange, secretly had a child, a sorceress as ruthless and powerful as them both? In today's video, you will find out the shocking truth about Delphi, Voldemort's hidden daughter, and the last hope of the Dark Lord's legacy. Voldemort and Bellatrix were two of the most feared figures in the entire Harry Potter saga. He was the Dark Lord, a ruthless tyrant obsessed with blood purity and willing to sacrifice anyone to achieve his vision of a wizard-dominated world. She was his most loyal Death Eater, standing by him even when others abandoned him, carrying out his cruelest orders without question. But in the midst of war and chaos, they did something no one expected. They had a child. Her name was Delphi, and her existence changed everything.
How could such a union even be possible?
Bellatrix's obsession with Voldemort was no secret. For years she worshipped him, blindly following his every command. But Voldemort, a man incapable of love, never reciprocated her feelings. Born under the effects of a love potion, he lacked the ability to truly care for anyone. Yet, during the final years of the war, Voldemort realized one thing. His bloodline, one that traced back to Salazar Slytherin himself, would end with him. And that was something he could not allow. Perhaps that's why he chose Bellatrix, a pure blood witch from the prestigious Black family, to carry his heir. And so in secret, Delphi was born. But what made her so dangerous? Delphi's story is told only in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, a controversial addition to the saga, officially recognized as canon by J.K. Rowling herself. According to the play, Delphi was born in Malfoy Manor just before the Battle of Hogwarts. After Voldemort's downfall, she was hidden away, raised by a woman who cared for her only in exchange for gold. She grew up alone, abandoned, and full of questions. That changed when her mother's husband, Rodolphus Lestrange, escaped from Azkaban. He revealed the truth. She was the daughter of the greatest dark wizard of all time, and her destiny was to bring him back. Delphi's plan was as brilliant as it was terrifying. She manipulated Amos Diggory, Cedric's grieving father, using his pain to gain access to Harry Potter's son, Albus. Through lies and deception, she convinced him and his best friend, Scorpius Malfoy, to steal a time turner. The goal? To rewrite history and prevent Voldemort's death. Her mission led to a chaotic spiral of alternate realities, near successes and shocking twists. She fought fiercely, demonstrating abilities beyond ordinary magic. She could speak Parseltongue, fly without a broom, and duel multiple opponents at once. She was powerful enough to defeat Harry Potter himself in combat. But even she was not unstoppable. In the end, it took the combined strength of Harry, Albus, Ron, Hermione, and Draco to bring her down. And even then, it was no easy battle. Delphi was ultimately imprisoned in Azkaban, her dreams of reviving Voldemort crushed forever. The world thought it had seen the last of Voldemort's legacy when Delphi was locked away in Azkaban. But some stories don't end that easily. Even behind the prison's cold, unyielding walls, she was different. Unlike other prisoners, she did not descend into madness or despair. There was no regret in her eyes, no signs of brokenness. She sat in her cell, silent, waiting. And that terrified those who watched her. Azkaban was designed to crush souls, to break even the strongest minds. Dementors drained the hope from their victims, leaving them as hollow shells. But Delphi was not like the others. She welcomed the darkness. Some whispered that she could still hear the echoes of her father's voice, that the whispers of Parseltongue never truly faded from her lips. The Ministry had no choice but to keep her under the highest security. Special enchantments were placed on her cell, limiting her magic, ensuring she could never fly, never summon power beyond their control. Yet despite every precaution, guards avoided her. Some claimed they saw shadows move unnaturally when they passed her door. Others said she smiled at them in a way that made their blood run cold. Years passed, but Delphi never lost her purpose. She had failed to rewrite the past, but she had learned a valuable lesson. Time was fragile. Fate was not as unchangeable as the world believed. And if there was one thing she had inherited from her father, it was patience. She knew that outside her prison there were still those who worshipped the Dark Lord, not the cowards who had abandoned him in his final hours, but those who had never lost faith. Quiet remnants of the Death Eaters scattered across the world, waiting for a sign.
And Delphi was that sign.
The news of her imprisonment did not kill the dream of Voldemort's return. It fueled it. Among the ruins of old alliances, whispers spread. She was the last of his blood, his only heir. And one day she would rise again. Deep in the shadows of the wizarding world, a plan was forming. The Ministry had buried the existence of the last Lestrange, pretending she was no more than a forgotten prisoner. But secrets have a way of escaping their chains. One winter night, a storm raged over Azkaban. The sea roared against the cliffs, lightning tearing through the sky. It was the perfect cover. The attack was swift. A small group of wizards, their faces hidden, their wands moving with deadly precision, breached the prison's defenses. The Ministry's protective spells, designed to keep Dementors at bay, had one weakness. They were not meant to withstand a carefully crafted assault from the inside. By the time the alarms rang, it was too late. Guards rushed toward Delphi's cell, only to find it open. The air smelled of burnt metal, the enchanted locks shattered. The guards barely had time to react before the dark figures vanished into the storm, taking their prisoner with them. The escape sent shockwaves through the wizarding world. The Ministry scrambled to contain the panic. How could Azkaban, the most secure prison in magical history, fail to hold a single prisoner? How could someone like Delphi, watched so closely, simply vanish? Harry Potter was among the first to hear the news. He had seen this before, the rise of darkness from the ashes of old nightmares. He knew this was only the beginning. For months there was silence. No signs of Delphi, no trace of those who had taken her. Some believed she had fled to a foreign land, hidden herself among dark magic users in places even the Ministry dared not go. Others feared something worse, that she was not running at all, but preparing. Then the murders began. It started with a former Death Eater, one who had betrayed Voldemort in his final days, giving information to the Order of the Phoenix. Found in his home, lifeless, the mark of a serpent carved into his wrist. Next, a Ministry official, one who had led the hunt for remaining Death Eaters after the war. His body was discovered outside the Department of Mysteries, his wand snapped in half. With each killing, the message became clearer. This was not random violence, this was a purge. Harry and the surviving members of the Order gathered in secret. They had spent years trying to put the war behind them, to believe the world had finally moved on. But now they faced a terrifying reality. Voldemort's daughter had not disappeared. She was rebuilding.
Ron, pacing back and forth, slammed his hand on the table. We should have known this would happen. She wasn't like the others. She wasn't just some crazed follower. She's his blood.
Hermione, her face pale, studied the reports before her. It's not just her. Someone helped her escape, and now they're helping her take revenge. This is organized. Whoever is behind this, they're not working alone. Ginny, her expression hard, turned to Harry. "You knew this wasn't over, didn't you?" Harry didn't answer. He didn't have to. The only question that remained was how far Delphi was willing to go. The answer came soon enough. One evening, as the sun set over Godric's Hollow, Harry stood at the grave of his parents, lost in thought. He had visited this place countless times, but that night something felt wrong. The air was heavy, thick with something unseen. Then he saw it, a message carved into the tombstone, deep and deliberate. "He will return." The letters pulsed faintly, as if written with something more than ink, something alive. Harry's breath caught in his throat. He reached for his wand, every muscle in his body tensed. Behind him the shadows shifted. A voice, soft and mocking, whispered in the wind, "You look just like him." Harry spun around, but the graveyard was empty.